Welcome to the quote-unquote podcast. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
In West Philadelphia, born and raised on the playground is where I spent most of my days. Chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool and all shooting some ball outside.
Grant sets the screen. Cartwright the double screen by Bill, and Michael puts it in. Richardson has it. He is 1 on 3. Takes it to the basket, and it's kicked in. Oh, and Reggie Miller came over and smacked Michael. Okay, and MJ is upset about it. I can't
It's like this and like that and like this and it's like that and like this and like that and it's like this and like that and like this and Drake creep to the mic like a fan.
Well, I'm peeping and I'm creeping and I'm creeping, but I damn near got caught cause my beeper kept beeping.
Honestly, I just couldn't find out what I wanted to watch. Oh, I'm sorry. What's going on, y'all? It's Jared Martinez. Welcome to the quote-unquote podcast. I'm just chilling right here trying to find something to watch. I can't decide if I want to watch some Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Do I want to watch the Bulls game? Do I want to watch X-Men, the animated series? Or do I want to listen to some MTV? You know, they got Ain't Nothing But a G thing right now. Now, if you can't connect those four things together, then you obviously are not a child of the 90s. I was born in 1989, so I unfortunately cannot call myself an 80s baby. Well, I mean, I am, but I wasn't raised in the 80s, so all I really had to look forward to was the 90s. You got it. Now, here's the cool thing about living in the 90s, okay? Living in the 90s, there was no cell phones, okay? There was no problems. At least if you were a kid, at least, at least nothing serious or anything like that. You see, back then, you didn't have the ability to text people or hit up Facebook or MySpace or Twitter or Pinstrip or whatever, or Pinterest or whatever it's called. You had to actually go outside and talk to your friends. You had to go to your friend's house or you had to look their number up in the phone book, the yellow pages, and you got those every year. That's how it happened, yes. That was probably one of the cooler things about living up in the 90s that I think a lot of kids are deprived of as of now. Like, a lot of kids, obviously when we were growing up, we had video games and whatnot, but I think kids nowadays, they really don't. They have so many electronic devices now that it's almost impossible for them to even. I don't even know if kids even still play tag or hide and seek anymore. If you're a parent right now and you have kids that still play tag and anything like that, then I applaud you, because I think it's something that kids should still play. I think it's a fun game that kids should always have a chance to play. Even us growing up in the 90s, as a big fan of the Super Nintendo, which I still think to this day is one of the best systems created, period. Of course, there was me and there was my cousin who always had the Sega Genesis. I was Nintendo, he was Sega, and we would always just play games and whatnot. But, just coming down, I used to, when I used to live, I used to have a two-sided house. I used to have my house and we had a family room. And then we'd have my cousin's house and whatnot. So it was just cool. Like, we had our TV set up in the family room, and we'd always play, we would always go there on Saturday mornings or Saturday afternoons or whatever. And we would just play some Super Mario World, and we would just cheer each other on and just hope that each other would lose. It was great. It was like the greatest part of the 90s, just having those fun times, just being a jerk. I think that was probably one of the funniest times that I remember being a child. Of course, that was one of the times that I actually even got introduced to, once again, my favorite video game of all time, Street Fighter 2. You know, I always loved the Street Fighter series, but it wasn't until I hit it on Super Nintendo that I became like a gigantic fan, and I still am a fan. Like, I love Street Fighter 4, 3, 2, you know, not the first one because it sucked, but I still love it, you know, and I have that because, you know, that's what it was in the 90s, baby. Even back then, you know, it was just cool because, I mean, like I said, we didn't really have, you know, we didn't have the devices to go outside and whatnot. So, I mean, like, I can't bring my phone out, you know, start playing Candy Crush and, you know, taking Instagram. I can't take a selfie, you know, but first let me take a selfie. You see, I couldn't really do that back then. You see, what I had to do is that I went outside and I played, dog. Baseball, basketball, you know, tag, freeze tag, hide and seek, you know. Red Rover, send whoever right over. And remember those games? These games were like, they were great, you know? They weren't, you know, it pretty much taught you to be tough because, I mean, you can't just play, you know, Red Rover and expect to leave unharmed or anything like that. A lot of kids would tighten their arms up just in case if you started running, they would clothesline your ass. It would look like something out of like WWF. See what I did there? And you'd be just laying on your back, just dead. And that's just how it's supposed to be. But yeah, I think those are some of the best times of my childhood I could suggest. Everyone has their own different particular perspective, but those are always mine. And I think everyone should at least have the opportunity to play those games at least one point in time, you know, before they're officially like old or dead. Another cool thing about growing up in the 90s, you know, what was one of the best things about it? Basketball, dog. The NBA. We grew up with Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewing, David Robinson, Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal. We had some of the greatest NBA players of all time growing up in the 90s, man. And that was like, I mean, obviously everyone had their favorite team, and I'm not going to say I was a bandwagon, but, you know, I think just like a lot of kids in the 90s, we grew up watching and admiring the man, the myth, Michael Jordan, number 23 of the Chicago Bulls. I mean, who else led, you know, their team to how many championships in that year and in that decade? Come on, let's be for real. Not many people can do that, you know. I mean, LeBron James is, you know, getting there, but, you know, Michael Jordan's the real deal, hands down. That's just how it is. Anyone that says otherwise can go kiss my feet, dog. Kiss my feet. Not even my ass, just my feet. Because I walk on my feet more. So there. I know that really doesn't make any sense, but that's just how it is. What else did we do in the 90s, y'all? Come on. Who else remembers this particular thing? You know, we didn't, I mean, this is probably late 90s, you know, mid 90s or anything like that. But we didn't have, you know, like fast speed internet. We had dial-up. Do you remember that noise that we had to listen to? Kids, can everyone gather around your car radios, you know, don't pay attention to the road. Listen to this real quick. Remember this noise and put your ear to the speaker real quick so you can really hear it. Isn't that noise annoying as fuck? Your children will never have to deal with that pain, and I envy them in a way, you know. Who else had to sit there, and you had to be a really lucky person to get like fast moving videos or anything like that, but that's how it is, you know. That's, you know, who else, you know, what else, you know, than that famous AOL noise. One of the best points about being in the 90s is just some of the simplicity of certain things that we, like, you know, we look back and we're like, I remember that shit. I remember that like off the top of my head. Like how about a cassette tape? You know, kids have nowadays, they have iPods, you know, they have their Zunes. I think, do people even have Zunes anymore? Nah, people don't have Zunes. Fuck that. This thing sucked. They have iPods, Androids, anything like that particularly. You know, even before that, we had CD players, but you don't know the pain of having to carry around a number of cassette tapes, dog. Having a cassette tape, and especially if that thing, you know, it got tangled in the cassette player, kids, you need to look this up. Look it up on Wikipedia. They have useful sources, of course, you know. Just for the record, don't believe that. Wikipedia is a horrible site. If you're doing homework or anything like that, never use Wikipedia ever. But yes, we had the cassette tapes, and you know what happens if it ever got tangled. You have to get either a pen or a pencil or something small, and you would have to rewind that up, put it right in the middle, and just start tangling it back up and hope to hell that you didn't break it. Because if you did, then that's it. No more cassette at all. That's just how it was. But I mean, come on, who else had those? And you know, you could even do the same thing with a VCR tape, you know, VHS tape. VHS. How many kids here know what VHS is? Raise your hand if you know what a VHS is. I'm just kidding. I can't even see your hands, you know? I can't see it. Maybe 1, 2, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? But the point is, we had VHS tapes, and those things were gigantic clunkers or anything like that. I mean, now we have Blu-ray, you know, compact disc CDs. But back then, you had the tapes, and the same thing with the cassette. Like, you know, if anything were to happen with it and it got untangled, you'd have to rewind that shit up. And if it didn't, then no more videotape. But those are always cool, you know. I still have some of my, you know, my house somewhere, just digging, just like a whole bunch of old home movies and just living it up and whatnot. I love that stuff. Now, if you also know, what's it called? What was the other greatest thing about being a kid in the 90s? Saturday morning cartoons, dog. I'm wearing a Cat Dog shirt right now as I speak to you. Cat Dog. And I didn't even care that much for the series at the time. But can you even say that you didn't enjoy some of the cartoons that came out in the 90s? Listen to this, okay? We had Rugrats, Doug, Ren and Stimpy, Rocko's Modern Life, Pokemon, Animaniacs. Come on, we had Tiny Toons, the Ninja Turtles, Darkwing Duck, OEO, Tailspin, and we had, God, what else did we have? We had everything, man. We had some of the greatest cartoons come and go at that particular point in time, and some of them are still so funny to watch. You could probably catch some of them on Netflix, you know, maybe. I mean, if you have if you have Netflix, and if you don't, then you don't get to watch it. I mean, you can always look it up on YouTube, but you know what I mean. The point is, we had some of the greatest cartoons on the face of the planet. Some of these kids now, they got Johnny Test and SpongeBob, and you know, not for nothing, SpongeBob was in '99, so SpongeBob is still technically a '90s cartoon. So, woo woo, yes sir. That's just how it is. That's how it is. And of course, you know about how Nickelodeon. What was the number one thing on your mind when you watched Nickelodeon? What was in that slime? What did it feel like to be slime, son? Did it feel good? Did it feel gross? It probably did feel gross. It didn't look comfortable. It looked like, you know, it just looked all goopy and gooey, as if someone threw pudding in your face or something like that, or something else. Keep your mind out of the gutter. But yeah, you had all that. And can you also imagine like the baggy pants of the 90s, like the parachute pants that, you know, MC Hammer used to rock? You know how to go? Can't touch this. Doom 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 doom. Can't touch this. Doom doo 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 doom 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 doom. Can't touch this. That was, you know, that was that, you know. But you know, not to mention that was the style of the 90s, you know, the messy hair, you know, not the Jerry curl, that's a whole something different story. Just the baggy pants, bright colored clothes, overalls, suspenders, whatever you want to call them, you know, Oshkosh Bagosh, dog, those things were all over the place and whatnot. That's just how it is. I think, you know, and not to what's it called? What else did we have? We had everything, man. We had some of the crazier, you know, super soakers. You know, when it came time for what's it called? When it came time for the summertime, you know, super soakers and slipper slides and stuff like that. You actually got to enjoy being outside as a kid, as opposed to being like, it's too hot outside. I want to go inside and eat like ice cream or something. I don't know. You know, just something. I mean, I don't think all kids sound like that. I mean, some of the kids I know, but you know, that's, you know, growth hormones and shit like that, I guess. But the point is that we had some of the greater outdoor activities to do in the 90s. Don't forget that. I think that was one of the greatest things about being up in the 90s, you know. I think everyone has different perspectives of what they grew up with, and you know, a lot of people, you know, who grew up in the 80s have to say that the 80s was the best, and I'm sure kids nowadays are gonna be like, yeah, you know what, I grew up watching SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents. That was tight, dog. I used to watch, you know, I got to play on the GameCube, and I got to look at my text messages and all the cool stuff, and you know, that's just how it is. You know, that's just how kids are. But I think, you know, if you're like me, I'm a 25-year-old male. And I was born in 1989, and I think if you are, in the same particular spot as I am, then you yourself can enjoy being a member of the 90s society, And let me be the first to tell you this. We're badasses. That's it. Straight up and down, son. Anyone that tells you otherwise is a complete liar. And I think everyone needs to understand that, we had the greatest hip hop, the greatest TV shows, the greatest, hell, we had Dragon Ball Z, some of the greatest animes. We had Nintendo 64. I mean, South Park came out around that time. We had The Simpsons. Come on, what else do you need to know? Like, everything else is irrelevant if you're not a 90s fan or a 90s child. So, I mean, I guess this is just me just kind of bragging or just, just giving you a little thing to reminisce about right now while you're listening in the car or at home or while you're doing things with your spouse, I mean, obviously, if you're listening to your spouse, I mean, if I was with my spouse, the last thing I would be doing is listening to this, but I don't know, some people get down that way, Some people like to listen to a 25-year-old, mixed child speak about the 90s while they're doing things. I don't know. That's what you do. Anyway, I'm going to cut this one out right now because that's just how it is. Anyway, it's all good in the hood, G. Word to your mother. Stay fresh, stay dope. That shit is fly, son. Ain't my type of hype, man. That's how it is. Anyway, this is Jared Martinez. I'm going to kick it with you. I'm going to be kicking it here anyway. Hope you guys have a great day. Let's get ready for summer. Hopefully I'm gonna be filling up some water balloons and some super soakers. I'm gonna be spraying everyone left and right. So come in my direction and I'll fuck you up. I'm kidding, maybe. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Just don't try me. Anyway, this is Jared Martinez. Welcome to the Quote Unquote Podcast. I am officially here on YouTube. What's going on? Don't forget to check out my brothers, Mr. A Word from Gorilla Joe, who's going to be on Spreaker every Friday night. And also don't forget to check out my boy, Mr. Nastradamus, who does his Overtime with Nas, as well as my boys that do their One Tree Hill. Nas is always a part of that too, so keep an eye open. Hopefully I get a chance to do my Macho Man Randy Savage once again. Who knows? I don't know. Do you know? I don't know. We'll see what happens though, and we keep in touch and we'll see what's going on though. So keep us updated and we'll keep you updated. Thanks for following. Thanks for all the views and whatnot. I appreciate the love from everybody. If you have watched it, thank you very much. And if you haven't watched it, you know what? Maybe you should. Maybe you should try it out. You never know. Explore things. Expand your horizons. Open up your mind, son. That's how I have to say it. So check it out. And once again, this is John Martinez. I'm signing out. Peace.